I'm sure you've noticed that the news is all abuzz about the whistleblower talking about how President Trump made a unsettling promise to the leader of Ukraine. And this issue has really been complicated a lot more than it needs to be. So I think I can bring a little bit of clarity to the conversation. Everyone is arguing about whether or not there is a quid pro quo, which means did Trump take away military aid in order to pressure the leader of Ukraine to go ahead and conduct a investigation into a political opponent, specifically Joe Biden's son. And that is very problematic to begin with. However, for a president to ask the leader of a foreign country to help with any sort of investigation into a political opponent, just requesting it is illegal. And I think most citizens don't know that because most people don't take time to look up the penal code and exactly what the minutia of the law that may or may not have been broken really sets out. But that's what we really need to be focusing on now, is not arguing whether there was a quid pro quo, but rather seeing that there is a law that has clearly been broken. So even though this transcript is supposed to have exonerated Trump, and I say that very loosely because the transcript that has been put out, it's not an official transcript as people are calling it. It is a summary, a 5-page summary of a 30-minute conversation. There are ellipses to let you know where things were left out. It is not a complete record of what was said, even on that one call. And we also have to remember that there were 8 calls altogether, and there were quite a few references that the leader of Ukraine made to things that had been said in the conversation that were not included in the transcript. Congress had already approved this foreign aid. And usually for foreign aid to be stopped to a country, it's Congress's job. So for a president to have his people stop foreign aid that's already been appropriated is already very, very unusual. This is not the way things are normally done. And then we have this whistleblower who lets us know there was a troubling promise made. And we hear that Trump actually did ask this leader to look into his political opponent. Now, that, as we've already covered, is breaking the law. But what's even more strange is that the Ukrainian leader, he asked about this money, saying that he needed to buy, more things for his military. And Trump directly responds, and now I am, quoting maybe a little bit roughly, but he directly responds, I need you to do me a favor, though. Now, usually if you say though, you actually mean that you are going to do that, but you need the favor. Though is the word that really sounds kind of bad in this and really does kind of indicate a quid pro quo, even though at this point in time, as people are saying over and over again, we do not have the actual words that I will not give you aid unless if you do this. But that is an argument that we're getting so caught up in, where we already have a law that's been broken, and we're kind of glossing over that. Another very strange thing is that this whistleblower is, they're trying to stop him or her from testifying before Congress. Because usually once the whistleblower's complaint goes up the chain, where each level says, yes, this is important to look at. Yes, it's important to investigate. Once it gets to the top of that chain, it's supposed to go to Congress within 7 days. And so it's already kind of against the rules in the way that it's being handled. So much so that the Senate actually voted unanimously to have the whistleblower's testimony. So that is also very unusual because it is a Republican majority Senate. But in this scenario, the Republicans realize that when it comes to law breaking behavior, even if you like the president and you like their policies, and it is a Republican president, when a Democrat comes along and they break laws, then there will already be a precedent for that. And our legal system is based in precedent. That's why Supreme Court rulings are referred to when other cases, other similar cases are being looked at. So it is crucial that we make sure that our leaders don't break laws, because I don't want you to feel like now is the time to get in our corners and argue based on partisan beliefs. Really, right now is the time to just keep an open mind as the facts come out, because we do know that the official transcript, as they're saying, was actually a summary of a 30-minute conversation, and you can see ellipses where information or things that were talked about were left out. And you also hear the leader of Ukraine referring to things that are not summarized in this particular document. I'm not even really seeing this problematic promise that the whistleblower is talking about. The problematic promise could be when Trump says at the very end of the phone call that he thinks Ukraine's economy is going to be doing better. During the call, the Ukrainian leader agreed to do whatever it was that Trump wanted and to be really cooperative. So that does, look pretty bad for the quid pro quo. And usually Congress is the only decision maker to stop foreign aid. So it is very unusual. There's a lot of rules that have not been followed in dealing with this scenario. And if indeed the quid pro quo is proven without any sort of doubt, then it is a very, very bad situation. Some people are saying that it's a treasonous situation. I am just wanting to clarify for you primarily that we do know that a law was broken. The law that was broken was the law where you're not allowed to ask a foreign leader for any sort of help, especially if it's personal and it's not helping the American people as a whole, to hold up American money and to want a personal favor, which he's asking the Ukrainian leader to meet with his personal lawyer. So all of this is not looking good in any way. If it was a movie, we'd be going, ooh, that sounds like a mob boss, So I admit that it does sound very bad, but I'm not going to jump to any conclusions. But if this was a movie, everybody would probably be in agreement about whether or not there is a quid pro quo.